Hello everyone, Hot Rods Reviews here, back with the second part of the review on Transformers Wolf Cybertron Earthrise, which is part of the Wolf Cybertron series on Netflix. So I'll pick up where I left off in part 1. I was talking about what happened in the Nebulon base, when they were at the Nebulon base, where Optimus fought Scorponok, and they said that battle was very epic. I liked that bit, and I also liked the bit with Ravage and Starscream. That was cute, but I'll get to that in a minute. So the next thing that happens, Wheeljack pulls this, they're all floating after Starscream. Actually, Starscream, blows up the excess of these, grenades the Autobots put up there. But Starscream sets them off to get rid of Megatron, and the Nebulon base kind of blows up. They'll survive it, but it just kind of blows up anyway. Starscream does that, or does something. Does that. And then they're all, after the explosion, they're all, floating. And Wheeljack pulls a switch, and Bumblebee tells him not to. And he just pulls the switch, and they all start falling. All the debris and all that, and themselves, they're all falling, and then they're all trapped in different parts of the base, of the Nebulon base. And so Megatron is stuck with Optimus, and they have a little discussion, a little talk, and that bit was kind of interesting, but it was kind of weird. And back on Cybertron, they're trying to, Alita and her team were trying to blow up I think they were leading the other Decepticons in that, who didn't want to be on Megatron's side, to where Alita and her troops were stationed, and then the other Decepticons found out where they were, and they attacked them. They had to go. It was their last base, and they had to defend it or something. I can't really remember most of the bits in Cybertron, but I remember a lot of the parts with Optimus and the rest on the Nebulon base. So there is some of the Nebulon base still there, and then Optimus and Megatron pretends to team up with Optimus, and Megatron and Optimus come to where all the other bots are. And there was this bit where Megatron says to Starscream says to Megatron, "You're alive," that kind of thing. Always, that what he always does. He says, "Megatron, you're alive. It's a miracle." Something like that. Starscream always says, and Megatron knocks Starscream into this whole thing, and comes back up. And before that, when they all drop after being in the air, and they all dropped down to the ground, Ravage licked Starscream's face, as if to say, or he sniffs Starscream's face, as if to say, "Are you okay?" I found that part quite adorable. I thought that was cute of Ravage to see if Starscream was okay, that I was sniffing his face. He did it twice, so he did it then, and then he did it when Megatron knocked him over, and he fell down Starscream fell down the hole and then he climbed back up again. And I think he climbed back up again, and Ravage came over to sniff him again, see if he was okay. I thought that part was quite funny and cute. Starscream was like, "Get out of the way." Or "Get off me," I think it was. He said, "Get off me." Poor Ravage was just seeing if he was okay. So, like, after they all get out of the Nebulon base, there's some bits I remember, some bits I don't remember that well. But I think the next bit I remember after they finish the Nebulon base blows up, and that was it. The Nebulon base blows up, and they're stuck in like this void, this vortex kind of portal thing opens up. The explosion opens like a portal thing to like the dead universe, they call it. Comes up and the Autobots go through it. I think the Autobots go through it, and they're like in the dead universe, and the Decepticons are the same. Or they follow the Autobots through the hole, or the portal, whatever you want to call it. They follow the Autobots through the hole, through the thing, and they're both in the dead universe, and both their ships are in the dead universe, and also when they're in space, Bumblebee also finally picks a side. He finally picks to actually join the Autobots. So I liked that Bumblebee actually joined the Autobots. Finally. So back to what I was talking about with the dead universe. They're on the dead universe, and you know who else is in the dead universe? Skylynx. They finally use one of the new characters in the toy line in the show. That was one thing I didn't like about the show, was that they didn't use a lot of the characters in the toy line. Like, Trailbreaker wasn't in it, Hoist wasn't in it, Grapple wasn't in it, Snapdragon wasn't in it. The only ones with earthrise that were in it that had toys were the ones who were in Siege. Like Optimus, Wheeljack, RC, Starscream. All of them in the line, they were all in it. But yeah, Skylynx was one of the ones who were actually in the earthrise line, who was actually in it. But anyway, they met him in the dead universe. They find out that Skylynx was actually banished to the dead universe by Alpha Trion, because he wanted the Matrix for himself, even though Alpha Trion won't give it to him. And yes, we see Alpha Trion again. I also like that we see Alpha Trion again, and that we finally see someone else who was in the toy line, who wasn't in Siege, actually in it. He was Skylynx. So he was banished to the dead universe by Alpha Trion, and him and Optimus have a conversation, and he shows Optimus things in the past and the future, such as that Optimus could, like, there was this part where Optimus was actually dying, and then there was this part where he becomes Nemesis Prime. It was like a lot of past showing that, like, Skylinks was showing Optimus like past and present, what might happen or might not happen, or to prevent like these things from happening. So like he was warning Optimus about all this and showing him some things in the past. And then on the ship, on Megatron's ship, Megatron's on his ship, and guess who else comes into it? Galvatron. Galvatron actually comes into it as well. I know he was planned for Kingdom, but they actually brought him into Earthrise, and he comes to tell Megatron about like his destiny or something, his destiny and stuff like that. And Galvatron basically shows the same thing. Galvatron basically shows Megatron, because he's his future self, the same kind of things as what Skylinks was showing Prime. Like Galvatron shows Megatron like there's like a thing with the in the past where in this bit they use a lot of good effects and stuff that was pretty cool. I liked all the effects they had in the show, including this part where Galvatron was showing Megatron the past and the present of what he should avoid in the future. So like there's this part, as I said, which had good effects to it, was in the past where Megatron was a gladiator, and there was this bit where he, Alpha Trion, Optimus, and Ultra Magnus were all standing there, and Alpha Trion was talking to the three of them, and so then there was a bit, like I said, with Megatron when he was a gladiator in the pits of, well, pits of Kaon is what they called in the Line continuity. So the arena they used to battle. He's battling this bot, and like Galvatron says he has this amazing power inside him that he needs to let out or something. And the future bits are like with Galvatron wants Megatron to stop Unicron before he does what he does to him as Galvatron. It's like a slave, Galvatron's kind of like a slave to Unicron in G1, in the G1 movie. So like he wants his past self to stop Galvatron from controlling his future self, which is Galvatron. So stop him from making him a slave. So and he tells him he has this great power that he needs to let out, and Megatron lets it out. And while Optimus and Skylinks were talking, sorry if I said a couple of times. Sorry if I said a couple of times. But yeah, going ahead with the video. So yeah, so Megatron tries to blast this new power at Optimus to destroy Optimus, and fortunately for Optimus, but unfortunately for Skylinks jumps in front of Optimus, in front of Megatron's beam, and Megatron sadly destroys Skylinks instead of Optimus. So Skylinks, sadly sacrifices himself for Optimus Prime. So that bit, I found that bit quite sad. I didn't like that bit at all, because, Skylinks just came into it, and he was going to go with the Autobots, but, he ended up sacrificing himself for Optimus, so he wasn't in it for very long. But yeah, I found that part sad. I thought it was unfortunate that, Skylinks couldn't be in it for longer to sacrifice himself for Optimus. As I've said, like, probably 5 times now. So after they get out of the dead universe, I kind of forget what happens. I think it skips. I think it was the next bit I remember is with Lolita and the rest of her team on Cybertron, where they're going to blow up the Decepticon headquarters. And so actually this was towards the end. So before this, that so if I said again. So before this, before Alita goes blow up the Decepticon headquarters, the next bit I should remember before that is the part where they're both in their ships and the mercenary ship comes back into it. The mercenary ship comes back and Double Dealer's talking. Well, it's not really Double Dealer. It's actually the Quintesson who's controlling Double Dealer. Who knows if he's alive or not? Nobody knows if he's alive. This is another bit another part where I didn't really like that much. So then, the next part I really remember is that part with the Quintesson controlling Double Dealer and him tricking the Autobots to come on the ship or something. I can't really remember what was happening in that part, but I remember the Quintesson controlling Double Dealer telling the Autobots something, and they go. I think Optimus, Megatron, and Cog are on the mercenary ship, and another bit that I don't like comes up after this bit when Megatron is fighting Optimus. Optimus is fighting Megatron. And so they're fighting and Optimus is down. And this next bit I really don't like where Optimus is down and Megatron just opens his chest up. Optimus's chest up and takes the Matrix out of his chest and runs off with it. I don't like that part. And then there's this other bit that I should mention with Cog when he's fighting a Quintesson, the same Quintesson that cut his faces off. That bit was disgusting. So this bit was also kind of disgusting. Not really, because I didn't really know what. So they're fighting. Cog is fighting the Quintesson that cut his face off. That cut his faces off. They're fighting each other. And Cog is severely wounded. And the Quintesson pushes him up against the wall. And I really don't get this part, because I really don't know. I really don't get this part. The Quintesson pulls something out of Cog's chest. It's like purplish pink. I don't know what it is. Now, first, when I watched that, I was like, what is that? What is that the Quintesson just pulled out of Cog? It was like this purplish, pinkish thing. I thought for a second it might be his energy tank. Because he was still alive. Apparently, in the Align continuity or in Rescue Bots Academy, they can survive for a period of time without energy on. Before actually going offline. So, yeah, I don't know what that thing was that the Quintesson pulled out of Cog. Anyway, Cog kind of saves the day. And then it cuts to the bit with Alita and blowing up the Decepticon headquarters. Then, there's a big explosion where you think they all die, and I don't know what happens to all of them. I don't know what happens to Cog. I don't know if he's still alive. Then there's this big explosion with the ships, and that's pretty much the end. So then it sets it up for Kingdom. So I already said all the parts that I like and I didn't like in the show. through both parts of this review. So that is actually going to wrap it up this time. So if you did like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe and say what you want in the comments below. And I'll see you next time. Bye.